So the first thing that we need to do is create a view that's going to handle our search, because the view is handling the quote unquote business logic. That is, the view is handling the logic for everything that we need to do. So it's going to handle the query, as in whatever argument we're giving into the search function, but it's also going to handle what is returned back to us. So if I go into Sublime Text, I'm going to go into my views here, and I'm actually going to just modify my product list view, and I'm going to call this my search list view. But I actually don't want to keep it in the products app, right? So there's a good chance that your search function or search component is going to be more robust than just products, right? You might want to be able to search things that are beyond just your product search. So that's actually what we want to do. So we want to actually create our own component for it. So let's go ahead and do that now. Now, of course, I have two terminals open. One is running the server. The other one is just in the root of the project. So I can do stuff like python manage.py, start app, and search. Okay, so inside of this, our settings, we are going to scroll down and bring in our search app right off the bat. And we can close out our settings. In fact, I can close out a lot of these other things as well from previous components or previous sections, that is. And we're going to create a urls.py. And I'm going to do a lot of the same things I did with products. So I'm going to do the include URL. This is something we want to get used to doing, especially when we have our own custom apps, also known as components. And we're just going to do search.urls and the namespace of search. And then in search app, we'll do urls.py. We're just going to save it as that. And then we're going to copy the product's URLs. I'm just going to copy that whole thing and bring it into our search URLs right there. I will go ahead and import just the product list view for a second. So products.views, we're going to import that product list view. And I actually don't want this detail view. We don't need that anymore. Okay, so we've got a actual URL set up for search. So if I come back into my search method here, I should actually see that. But I'm getting a item of no module search.url. So let's go ahead and maybe restart the server. That seems to have solved that problem. So now we're in our search method here, right? So I actually have a list view out of these items. Now, before I even have my search method work, we have to think about how do we change what's displayed. So if I go into the product views, the display comes off of this get query set method, right? So I'm already starting to see that I need to change what this is. I need to change how that renders these things out. So I'm actually going to go ahead and copy this. We're going to still do the product list view. But in this case, I'm going to bring it over into my search views, and I'm going to instead call this the search product view, search product list view, or just search product view. Because again, if I ever need to change my searching function in the future, I might want to call this something different. But in this case, I'm going to leave it in as this search product view. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the context data comment. And I'm going to go ahead and import from products.models. We're going to import product. Okay, so now we're going to use this as that URL. So we'll just go ahead and import it just like this. A lot of this stuff should be review. So if I'm moving too fast, that's probably something you should review in older sections. Okay, so what we've got here is the product objects all, right? So this is actually going to list out exactly the same. It should look the same as before. Oh, I don't have list view defined, so I need to actually do that. And that's from Django.views.generic import list view. I know this off the top of my head because I use it so often. You eventually will too if you use it a lot as well. So running that server again, refreshing here, it's the same as the product view, right? It's not any different, just the URL looks different. But it actually is different because we are going to be updating how this portion works. So one of the things I could do right off the bat to show you that we can filter things down, let's just say title underscore underscore I contains, and we'll just say hat. Well, I'll just say hat like that. And we refresh it here, and what do you see? One actual item. What if I change hat to being capitalized? What happens then? Still the same, right? So the title I contains hat doesn't matter as far as the capitalization is concerned. If I did I exact, we save that, refresh, hat works, and lowercase hat also works. That's because I contains and I exact for hat makes sense, right? So basically what I'm saying is, let's go ahead and just write a little note here. And if you do underscore underscore for any field I contains, that means the field contains this, and then I exact equals the field is exactly this. That's how hat worked, right? So if I did shirt, for example, what do I get? I have nothing. If I change it to contains, I get two of them because there's two with shirt. And they are case insensitive in this case. You can have it capital or lowercase, right? So if I refresh that, and again, it's only searching these titles because that's the field we designated here. So how do I actually turn this into not hard written code here, but rather based off of something? Well, I'm going to actually base it off of the URL using a URL parameter called Q, and I'll just say shirt, right? So we have this now URL parameter in here. This is a get parameter that includes Q. We can see this in our terminal too, right? So we've got two get calls here. One is just the standard search without any parameters. And then the second one is the search with a parameter, that is Q equals to shirt. How do we get that? Really simply, we just go ahead and do print request.get. This will print out all of the get parameters that are in there. So if I refresh again, what I see is a query dictionary showing me Q and shirt. Q is actually pretty common for search. So even on Google, that's how it would work. So if you did google.com, Q equals to new beach images. I do a search there. It actually brings me here. It's not actually doing the search anymore. So I have to do it one more time. I have to press enter one more time. But notice that in here, there is a parameter for Q. So there's all sorts of parameters in that one, but in ours, we just had the one parameter of Q. So I can actually use that parameter by doing Q or query equals to request.get, and then do another .get Q, the string of Q. So I'll explain this .get in just a moment, but basically we'll then say if query is not none, then we'll return the title containing that query. Otherwise, we're going to return product.objects.none. Okay, so we refresh in here. What do you know? It's actually going off of shirt, the actual search in the bar, right? It's going off of this right here, which we can find out by printing out what that query is. And then we can refresh and say ABC. It actually searches for that, as we see here in our terminal. It's searching for ABC. Okay, so what is it that this is, what's happening right now? Why do we do request.get, and then why do we do .get again? Well, request.get is actually a get, like a dictionary. So we'll just say get dict equals to request.get, or it's really a method dictionary. So that means it's a Python dictionary. On any Python dictionary, you can do this .get call. An alternative would be doing the brackets and actually looking for that key. But this runs a value error or an error if you do this and that Q does not exist. So by default, if I don't have that Q there, what does it do? Let's go ahead and get rid of it. Press enter, and it prints out and it's none, right? So it becomes none versus an error, which let's go ahead and see that error. There is a multi-value dict error. The other nice thing about this is I can actually set my default. it defaults to none, but if it's not there, I can set it as something else like shirt, right? So it's not there. I refresh, and what do you know? It shows search or shirt. This gives you an opportunity to do something like featured, or have another sort of thing that's actually showing up here. I have it in as none, but maybe I want it in as featured, assuming that is one of my items here, and it is. So now I have it as featured instead of shirt. Let's go back into that search here and call this none as our default. We refresh, and hey, what do you know? Lorem ipsum is actually featured. So before I actually go away, I want to add one more thing in here, and that is I want to have this query in the context of this template, right? Actually, we're going to leave that for the next one. We're going to add this query so we can see what we actually search for in the next one. Stay with us.